So I accidentally put my lunch and my margarita on my business card, which means now I have to make it a tax write-off.
Oh my gosh.
That's what this video is for.
Hey, it's Brian and Bo from the Money Guy Show. The team has put together some tax videos, but I'll be honest, we did get out of them. It's not necessarily good stuff.
Brian, I am so excited because I love that we can speak into what's good and what's not out there on the internet to help you do money better. So with that, let's dive in.
There's only one car you buy and the rest you lease. $150,000, Range Rover, it weighs 6,000 pounds. Section 179 IRS says anything over 6,000 pounds, you can write off 100%. You could buy it on December 31st, write it off that year, even though you didn't even drive the car. Boom.
What?
$158,000, you get to write it off that day against your earned income. If you have self-employment money or an LLC producing other income. I would pay cash for the Range Rover. We did. But the Cullinan that I have is a lease vehicle. I leased it with no money. I put it on a 24-month lease, never longer than that. Whatever the payment is, if you can't handle that payment, don't do it. And then every 24 months, I trade that car in. Why do I do a lease rather than own? Because I can write off 100% of that lease payment every month against my business income.
Grant is one of those guys, he throws out some good stuff, but he also throws out some stuff that's got a lot of shades of gray.
Lots of gray.
And when he's spot on that, look, when a vehicle weighs over 6,000 pounds, it's one of those little quirks of the tax code that now qualifies as a piece of equipment or machinery that you can accelerate the depreciation through that section 179. The part he's failing to mention when he says 100% deductible is that it's going to make you track the mileage. You're going to have to compare what's business use, what's personal use, and so forth. And for a lot of people, it's hard to reach 100%. First of all, you can't even consider this unless it exceeds 50%. So the fact that he says you don't even have to drive it unless you're making YouTube videos or other things like grants, maybe he's got some way that he can justify it. But if you're running just a small business, I don't know that it necessarily works for you.
Who wants to have an auto payment every single month for as long as you exist? He said, I'm going to lease it for 24 months, no more. Then I'm just going to rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. You know what's better than that, in my opinion? Buy a reasonable, affordable car today, pay cash for it, have no payments, drive that car for 7, 8, 9, 10 years, and don't be wasting money on the automobile. Yeah, so what if it's 100% deductible because it's a lease payment? You're still spending that money. You know what's better than getting the tax deduction? Not spending the money at all. It makes no sense.
Well, deductible is not free. And also remember, even when you take a deduction, even if you're in the high tax bracket like Grant likely is, you're still paying 60 cents on the dollar. This is saving you the deduction. It's not free.
Snitch on someone for not paying their taxes, you get 30% of whatever they owe. So if you want to pay 30% less in taxes, just don't pay your taxes.
Snitches get stitches.
And snitch on yourself. Just don't pay your taxes and snitch on yourself. Now, I got to know, Brian, this is not inside of my tax lexicon. Is it true that there is some sort of benefit if you turn in a tax evader?
I don't know about turning into, there's definitely whistleblower provisions.
Sure.
But I don't think that this is a tool or tactic that you want to do on your neighbors that maybe aren't rolling the trash can behind the house or doing things like, because look, I always wonder, you could probably go tell on somebody if you know they're doing something that's incredibly illegal, but I'd also be careful of just being a person that's going to go get on the radar of telling on neighbors or doing something. I think that was a joke. I'm going to assume his tongue was firmly planted on his cheek.
For sure it was a joke. There is no magical way to do that. But what is interesting is if you get on the wrong side of the IRS, if you are shady and you are aggressive in how you file your taxes, they can literally come and take your stuff. So you want to make sure you always stay on the right side of the IRS so that you don't have to turn yourself in.
So don't get on the naughty list of the IRS.
Stop throwing birthday parties. Throw a mastermind event instead. Masterminds are tax deductible. If you're bringing your group of friends together, we should be talking about revenue generating activities. You're still going to have alcohol there. You can still have music there. And instead of just talking about how you're going to party and get turned up, we're going to talk about how we're actually going to make some money, help each other, and push our ideas into the world and into the marketplace. This is how you're able to leverage the tax system while still having fun and turn around and get write-offs for you and your friends.
He's a blast to hang out with.
He is
already in 2 videos that I've experienced from this gentleman. We've got our family is going to be eating free.
This is how I'm able to afford having that private chef every single year, every single month, every single day.
Private chef every
All
night.
I have to do is get them to pass the Parmesan bread, and then all of a sudden I'm the CEO, and my daughters, they're my minions that are running my enterprise here.
Yep.
And now he's figured out that he can have a way for all of his friends to hang out, and it's deductible. Now look, I do want to give a little bit of a nod. I'm a member of a mastermind group. You are too. But the difference is these are other successful business people we meet in the city. We have, yes, we break bread, but we really are, like, we even have like an outline. We have an agenda. We have forms that we're filling out to discuss. It is a true, like, I can tell you I've learned about 504 loans on the SBA. I've learned about relationship stuff, all kind of things that can be very beneficial, not only to my business, my personal life, but the purpose was ultimately for the good of the business. That's the key part that makes it deductible. As he shared in the past, feeding your family for free or bringing a group of friends together with a bunch of booze, it might be deductible if it's business related and legitimate business, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's always deductible, and that scares the heck out of me.
Yeah, I think let me give him the bit of the doubt. Here's what he said that I liked. You ready for this? Hey, rather than spending your time going out, partying, wilding out, getting turned up is the language he said. Hey, spend your time meeting with other like-minded people to talk about how you can have successful business endeavors and make wise, productive financial decisions. I like that one much more than getting turned up. And if it happens to be inside of a business setting, then yes, it would be deductible, but it's probably not going to be a bunch of knuckleheaded buddies sitting around partying. I don't think that's satisfying.
I'm hopeful that maybe he really is just living the life where all he hangs out with is business owners. Doesn't mean that his family meals are free, as he shared in a previous video, though.
So I accidentally put my lunch and my margarita on my business card, which means now I have to make it a tax write-off, so that's what this video is for.
Oh my gosh. By the way, I have been at an event where somebody says, "Hey, we got to talk about some business.
We got to bring it up right now. We got to make this
deductible."
legitimate.
And look, in some ways, as long as you got the right key people. Now, this is back to my point as I was talking about earlier. You can't just be out with the family and you say, "Hey, I'm going to put you on the payroll this month, so that makes this meal deductible." But I think that you do need to be mindful. The IRS doesn't mind you running meals, and they're 50% deductible to you if, once again, it's business related, meaning it's actually necessary for your business. But that doesn't mean that you just get to go to Disney World and say, "Hey, if I say the word amortization, it's almost like Cinderella or pixie dust has fallen upon this and it's now magical."
I would just caution you for most of your business lunches, maybe don't have margaritas every time. It just seems like bad business. Seems like an aggressive standpoint.
The more money you make, the more the IRS will take. So if you go from making $75,000 to $150,000, you're not going to see $75,000 divided by 12 on your paycheck. As a matter of fact, I know people who get a raise from $100,000 on their job to $200,000, and they've actually seen less on their check because the more money you make, the more tax brackets you enter into. I did not think
it's
that
usually the
when
credits
you
that
grow
cause what
in
you just
life,
talked about.
that you make more money and get less. That just didn't seem fair to me.
So yes, it is true. We live in a progressive tax system where as your income goes up, the percentage you pay on your next dollar does get taxed at higher and higher rates. However, I don't know that I agree with her assessment that I had someone who made $100,000 and then the next year they made $200,000 and they saw less. That seems like too big of a change to me. We have seen it at tighter income thresholds where higher income resulted in less take-home pay because of losing credits or causing Social Security to become taxable or something along those lines. But to go from $100,000 to $200,000 and see less, that seems difficult to me because generally speaking, making more money is usually always better than making less money.
The only way that I've seen that actually happen in practice is if you've now crossed over the tax credits. Like think about child tax credits.
Sure.
On a lower income side, it might be earned income credit or some of the other things that all of a sudden now the fact that you made more money actually cost you got less take-home pay. But for people who aren't running afoul of credits, it's mathematically impossible to go from $100,000 to $200,000 even if you're in a higher tax bracket, to have less money. Now, you might have a lower effective take-home rate because your tax rates did go up because we're a progressive tax system, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're making less money.
Even if you're in the highest tax brackets and you're paying 50% taxes, every one additional dollar you make, while 50 cents of it is going to taxes, you still get to keep 50 cents. So it's not true that the more money you make, the less you keep in most circumstances.
So this is you and this is your company. The goal is to make your company broke on paper. If your company doesn't make any money, you don't have to pay any taxes. So this is how you can legally get the money out of your company.
Yeah, but if you're buying Ferraris, that doesn't work either.
You work for your trust. When you set up your trust, you transfer your intellectual property into the trust. So all the money your company generates with your intellectual property has to go back to the trust. And because we set up your trust in Cyprus, you don't have to pay any income tax, inheritance tax.
Oh my gosh. You realize that's where the crime just occurred.
You want and benefit from them like they're yours. Now watch our pinned video to know exactly how you can benefit from the work for your trust structure.
Anybody, and tell me, if you have a CPA, you can put this in the comments. I guarantee you their engagement letter, one of the first things they're going to ask you about two things, really. They're going to ask you about offshore holdings because they want to know if you have money outside the United States because they want to make sure you're getting that reported. Otherwise, they don't want to sign your tax return as your tax preparer. And they're going to ask you about crypto. And the reason is that it's kind of unique here in the United States is there are some exclusions, but the IRS and the United States requires all citizens to report all sources of income. Now, look, there might be some exclusions or some offsets, but the government wants to know what you're earning worldwide. So don't listen to some crazy YouTube video that says, go open up an account in Cyprus and voila, it's now doesn't exist to the government. That is a one-way fast track trip into getting treated like Al Capone.
I'm in Dubai. Most people don't realize it's full zero tax, and they're like, no, I don't get it. But what's the No, there's no stipulation. It is 0% corporate, 0% dividend, and 0% income. So the best part is I can go to Dubai, I can clean 50 million, be left with 50 million.
This is why Monte Carlo is so popular too.
50 million to 100 million, whatever the number is, and I can return back to UK and then never pay tax on that.
He just used the word clean. I can go to Dubai, have 50 million, I can clean 50 million, and then I can come back and have it. Even that just makes my spidey senses go off a little bit, because while there are some truth to like corporate tax rates, the fact that I'm taking money from a jurisdiction where maybe I should be paying taxes and going somewhere where I should not be paying taxes, I start to get a little bit iffy there.
Well, look, and by the way, he's very clear. He's not a U.S. citizen. He's going back to the U.K., and I don't know completely the rules for U.K. citizens, but here in the United States, you are required to report all income. There could be some exclusions, other things. I've talked about that previously. Now, I think what's interesting is that there are places that you can live that don't have income taxes, like Monaco and other things. I mentioned that. But the problem is, the only way you'd have to become a citizen of that territory to truly be subjected to zero taxes. Now, another one I hear about all the time is Puerto Rico, because there are some unique things that you can do if you wanted to move your business or live in Puerto Rico that potentially could lower your taxes substantially.
But you actually have to live there.
Yeah, it can't be a sham transaction. That's the key thing I want everybody to know is that, look, there are things written into the tax code typically to incentivize certain behaviors. And you have to ask yourself, why was this written? But what is never going to be in the tax policy or tax code is basically for you just to hide your money or illegally not pay taxes that you've earned and expect that the IRS is going to be completely okay with this. And there's all kind of precedent. We've picked on Al Capone before. We picked on Wesley Snipes. There's all kind of people that have thought they could not pay a dime of taxes because somebody misled them, and unfortunately found out the full weight and power of the federal government is that you should pay your taxes.
Hey, Tax Tip Tuesday. Don't forget, gambling losses are a tax write-off. Every day for lunch, I come out.
But come on, he's only telling half the story.
You pick up an aluminum can, you get what, 5 cents? This right here? $2-3 a pop. I haven't paid taxes in years. Dig through your neighbor's trash. Whatever. Go to the bodega. Ask for the losers. So if your mother got your scratch tickets for a stocking stuffer for Christmas and they're all losers, even better. You don't have to win to hit the jackpot.
This is a joke.
It's a joke. So surely this had to be tongue in cheek. So what he's saying is gambling losses are deductible. So all I got to do is go pick up a bunch of losing scratch-off tickets and voila, offset all of your ordinary income, and boom, you don't have to pay any more taxes. Brian, I don't think that's the way that it works.
Look, you can deduct gambling losses to offset. Here's the key part that, like I said, has to be a joke. To offset gambling gains. And so if you go and you're pulling the one-arm bandits, say out in Vegas, and you win a mega jackpot, you don't even have to be a mega. It just has to be big enough that they pull you aside and say, sir, we're going to issue a tax form. Of course, the federal government then lets you state what are your other losses to offset that gambling gain, but they're not going to let you run around your mom's bingo match and write down and then assume all those losing ticket bingo cards is going to be a great deductible loss for you. That's fool's gold.
Remember, tax avoidance is highly encouraged. We have an entire tax system set up to help you figure out ways that you can avoid paying taxes. However, tax evasion is illegal and it will get you arrested and it will have your stuff taken away from you. So be so careful who you're taking tax advice from. Make sure the person you're listening to is qualified to be sharing the information they're sharing with you, and it's not some random person that you found on the internet.
That's the biggest thing, is I think so many people are trying to tell you there's a shortcut. I tell you to be smart with your tax planning, but don't be a criminal. We're the Money Guy Show. I'm Brian. This is Bo. Money Guy team.